Pallone for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have significant concerns with the intent, execution, and desired outcomes of the bills before us today. And as I said in my opening statement, Republicans' opposition to EVs is an attack, in my opinion, on innovation, public health, and lower energy bills for American drivers. But I'm particularly concerned about H.R. 1435. In my opinion, this bill runs counter to the intent of the Clean Air Act, which is a model of cooperative federalism with decades of successful partnership between EPA and states to protect Americans from dangerous air pollution. And this is especially true when it comes to controlling vehicle emissions. Congress directed EPA to take the lead, but also included language to recognize the authority of California to set separate and more protective standards, but the bill would ignore this well-established structure. So, Mr. Goffman, how would blocking more protective state vehicle standards undermine the Clean Air Act's partnership between states and the federal government to control air pollution?
It could limit California's, or more precisely, EPA's authority to grant a waiver to California. And I think, as you know, states like New Jersey have voluntarily chosen over the history of the Clean Air Act to exercise the option that the Clean Air Act gives them to adopt California standards after EPA has granted California a waiver to implement its standards.
Well, thanks. And I'm committed to defending states' authority to protect the health of their citizens and the environment from dangerous air pollution in the transportation sector. And that is why Senator Carper and I filed an amicus brief earlier this year defending EPA's decision to grant a Clean Air Act waiver for California's Advanced Clean Cars program. Now, H.R. 1435 would reverse EPA's decision and revoke this waiver, and this would be especially problematic, as you said, for New Jersey, since we often follow California's lead on vehicle standards. So again, Mr. Goffman, how would revoking existing waivers impact the ability of states like New Jersey to control pollution from their transportation sectors?
States like New Jersey, who have exercised their option of adopting California standards, have depended on Section 177 of the Clean Air Act. 177 is contingent on California's being granted a waiver by the EPA for its standards. There have been waiver grants we've done in the last year or so where we determined that the California's implied entitlement under the Clean Air Act was not negated by any of the facts that were presented to us in the record. And so that would take away not only California's ability to implement its vehicle regulations, but it would completely erase the option of states like New Jersey that have exercised that option in the past to adopt their California standards.
Well, thank you again. Let me just say that the transportation sector is currently the largest source of climate pollution in the United States, so it's critical, in my opinion, that states and EPA have every tool available to help cut these emissions. And with these bills, it's clear that my Republican colleagues are not interested in addressing this dangerous air pollution and are just continuing to promote handouts for their polluting friends over the American people. But I do want to thank Mr. Goffman for being here today. I do think this hearing is important, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.